All right, welcome everybody to Heart First with Milagros Phillips. This is a weekly Facebook Live show where Milagros interviews a range of guests and sometimes workshop participants like tonight about all kinds of topics relating to spirituality, personal growth, especially as it pertains to race and racism and how we can transform these things and become our higher selves and create a new kind of world that we really want our children to inherit. So tonight is a very special conversation with some participants from the October workshop, Race and the Spiritual Journey. I'm not going to introduce it too much. I'm just going to hand it over to Milagros. But if you're just joining us for the first time and you'd like to join the workshop tonight, there are still spots available. And I'll drop the link to the Eventbrite right below the post where you're watching this Facebook Live. Thanks for joining us, and I'll hand it over to Milagros.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. This is really special for me. It's always wonderful to hear how the process that we've been moving through is working in people's lives. So we have Danielle, we have Kit, and we have Kay that have joined us tonight to talk about their journey since we started this particular process and just, what it's meant to them, how it's making a difference in their lives. I'm just so excited. I want to thank all three of you for being with us tonight. And let's just talk. Like, who wants to be first? And either, any one of you who wants to be the first one. Kay, you've unmuted, so you are ready.
Oh, I just unmuted to join the conversation, not to be first.
Yes, I like that. Ready to go.
Oh no. Well, for me, it's just been like, even though I'm a white person, I've understood some stuff since I was a child because of experiences I was living in, and never had did little things that I could figure out to do to help. To me, like, fairness for people, everyone, has always been like a mantra for me. And this conversation and what I've been learning in your workshops, Milagros, has gave me language around some stuff that I kind of was a little bit introduced about 5 years ago when I was working at a nonprofit, but I didn't know what I didn't know. So now I know more, and it's given me language and context. And although I work in human resources, brings such a deeper meaning to the type of work I can do more of, and try and help share the message, because I'm learning more and more what I'm learning, and what every week we're in something, or what I'm doing with you, people have to be ready to receive. And you cannot force that. You cannot force it. And you can't preach too much because you don't want them to go away. Kind of what I'm learning is I want to just say, I know this is I'm excited about it, this is what I know. And then when they're ready to learn more or be more, then I can share resources or places to go for them to figure out their own journey of how they want to go through things. And that's one of the things that's come out of me in terms of learning about race literacy, learning about equality and inclusion and fairness, bringing about fairness, understanding what you've taught us about the doctrines out there that have set up our system of laws and practices that, is in us. We don't even know how to respond. And I catch myself as a white human being, and I have been doing this for years, and I have to go, I'm not in danger. Why is that first think of fear? Go rethink, go meet that person, go learn about them, go figure it out, then make my decisions. And I still have to do that because it's ingrained in my cultural way. It's ingrained in what's going on in society. And I don't do it as often, but every so often it'll come up and I'm like, am I really in danger? Like, what in the world am I having this feeling for? No. Okay, stop that, brain, turn off and think of something different. Or is that really happening? Are people really is this discussion going that way? Wait, let's interject some other thoughts, some other ideas, so people can think through what's really occurring in the situation we're trying to deal with and make a better decision. So I find myself catching those types of moments more and redirecting where I need to redirect my pattern to teach it better behavior, better thoughts, better patterns. And we didn't share this in the other day because I wasn't as participating as much because I was traveling, but I caught myself, like I sometimes, because I work with a lot of men, have to be like, I just like say what I'm gonna do. It's not up for negotiation yet. It's not up for anything. And I'm like, okay, I'm white. Are they taking me as like I know it all? I'm like, and a white woman and bossy and I have to like watch and with my team, I'm learning to ask more, embrace more, be more inclusive in our conversation, and learn like, do I have that thing that I put on when I have to put on for somebody for a moment to get my message across? Like, when do I not have it on, and should I not have it on? Just trying to really be purposeful, like some things that I've done for myself to be taken seriously in certain circumstances, or, just still trying to be authentic, but give people in a way that they'll hear me without trying to take away from it. So what you've taught us in the history that you've shared that I didn't know, as well as the healing moments that you give us, has really been valuable to me, and will continue to be valuable to me for many, many years to come, throughout the rest of my life, to be better and live better. So
thank you so much, Kay. Thank you. Yeah, we have to be intentional about these things, and we have to be able to catch ourselves in the midst, right? Because that's all part of it as well. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Who would like to share next? You can just unmute yourself and start talking.
Oh my gosh. For me, I feel like it's helped me to see that things are like you've helped show me that things are bigger and are deeper than I even thought, because even just hearing about how you talked about where our ancestors were and where they were located, and how that just everything, I'm like, wow, I didn't realize it's way deeper than just in America, or just like it, just understanding that everything goes back, lines back, just has really helped me not take it too personal. Like it's helped me to see that, oh my gosh, like of course we feel this way, because I was honestly being triggered by things I didn't even know about, or I didn't really understand, like as far as just everything, like so many little things. Like recently, since things have come to a head, I found myself literally clashing against, like I've never had issues with like white women or white people at all, but like it'd be little things that they would do that all of a sudden something in me would be like, what? And take it personal. Like I've never, and I didn't understand it, but like attending your like workshops, I'm like, oh my gosh, like of course I feel this way. It's because like my ancestors like were in fear. Of course I would like feel, because I honestly started to see myself getting offended by like, this is just my personal experience. I was feeling myself getting offended by like all of a sudden like white women now like listening to like wearing cornrows and stuff, where I never had a problem with like my whole life. Like I honestly understood it, but then all of a sudden like when people are like protesting, like I all of a sudden felt like, oh my God, why is she not, like what is she doing, and why is she taking our culture, and why is she, like all of these things started coming up for me, and I'm like, huh, like are these my feelings or like somebody else's? Because I thought I don't have anything wrong with this girl. Like I wear cornrows, she can wear cornrows too. But it's just, I realize that everything goes way deeper, and it's not just like my own stuff. I'm sometimes carrying things that my ancestors felt or feared. And I live like out here, like I'm kind of the only, well, as far as I can see, the only like Black person in my area. And like even going to places like this is like so real for me. I always went to like this cemetery. I always like found safety, and so I'm just kind of weird like that. I just felt like peace and love at the cemetery. And then this guy was like, this is a Quaker like cemetery, like the Black one is like down there. And I was like, huh? And then I went and I felt so different, the energy, like literally, and it just brought up like I'm having like memories of stuff that I never experienced, but just seeing like, oh my gosh, maybe like what happened here, and oh my God, like were they like selling them here, and like it felt so real for me, and it's just through going through like your workshops that I understand. I'm able to have compassion for myself and not think I'm going like crazy or like not understanding like, you know, all these things that are coming up. It's really allowed me to just give myself grace and compassion and just extend love. And it like literally attending your things too. I've learned that the importance of just our truths and knowing that like just because my experience is this is it doesn't mean that yours is wrong or anything. Like there's no right or wrong, it's just our experiences and that's just what it is. And like to not take someone else's truth as like more important than mine, or like because I did that for a while too, and I'm like, geez, all these white people like would say like, I don't know, I can go on a spill about how I'm like judgmental on myself and I like compare myself to like these, I live in a house with other like roommates that are white and get treated completely different. And I'm like, what? Like I internalize that a lot. And I'm just so grateful that you've given tools to help me understand that our journeys all look different and it's all perfect. Like it's okay. Like, and it's deeper than us. And as long as we're consciously like being aware of the traumas that are still in us, I can say like as from my personal, as long as I can be aware of it and make an effort to heal it and know that it's coming up for healing, and instead of being triggered and lashing out, and you know, it's just about being aware of it. And yeah, I loved your meditations and stuff at the end so freaking much, because I would be like, I felt like a lot of things were triggered and then like you like bring us back to our hearts, and it's like, oh, and I always like play it back in my mind. Sometimes I'm like, oh, and then you were like, our bones are like holding on, like ancestor stuff, but like extended love and transmute all of that. Like I literally like hear it in my mind all the time. And I'm like, okay, like it like allows me to like come back and just literally extend love to even the people that like don't understand my truth. Like I'm so grateful that I have the like courage and strength to even speak my truth. And instead of getting upset that they don't understand it, I'm just like, and that's just your truth, love, like sending love and light. That's all I can do. And I just like, I learned that from you, like being able to do that. I'm so freaking grateful for it. Cause like, it used to be a whole different story. Like I'm triggered and it's like, yeah, but I've learned to just like extend love. And I'm so
I know
grateful.
that story. We've done that.
Yes.
Yeah, that stuff can eat you alive. And part of staying healthy, because that's the other thing, is understanding that all of these toxic emotions live in our bodies, but there are other emotions that can live in our bodies. And then, you know, depending on how we and where we choose to put our energy will depend how, you know, I mean, it does so much for the physical body. It's just, if you're injured somehow, it's so much easier to heal in 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 a loving environment than it is in a toxic environment, right? And so understanding that that's pervasive regardless of what the toxicity may be. And when it comes to race and racism, we live in a toxic environment. It's always, you know, it's, you rarely get really good news about this topic, right? And so we have to own our power and do the best we can. So Kit, what's your story?
I second what Kay said, and also Danielle. And that first, the being able to have language for this experience. I was horrified by George Floyd's murder. I was horrified by all of it, and I didn't feel I had a right to speak. That I didn't have a place to stand with it, because I hadn't really owned up to and looked at until meeting you that supremacy is also a trauma. I mean, it sounds crazy. It sounds crazy, but as you worked with us with that, I could see that it's a wound. It's a trauma. It's hidden by privilege.
Mhm.
And I saw the ways in which I was born into it. I benefited by it, and I was ashamed of it, but without being able to own, to look at it really square ahead and see that it and see it new, it how it impacted me, and I have emotions about it, and I have emotions now about it. But to have it in to speak about these things in community without shame, with in openness, like I do not know what I don't know. I don't know what I don't know. I don't know,
Mhm.
but I am willing. I'm willing to learn, and so I thank you for that, for giving me. I could own where I stand, who I am. I don't have to be someone else, and in order to speak. Because what I found myself is talking to my friends, um, especially my Black friends, with this. I made assumptions, and I saw how many times through your work. One of the questions about this evening is, how has it changed my life? And I'd say, I see that I make assumptions that I speak into. We have somebody working with us, and I made a statement about 15-year-old boys, and how they're not going to wear a mask all the time. But I didn't realize I was talking to a mother, and her 15-year-old boy definitely wore a mask. So I just didn't hear that, and we cleaned it up. It was great. We embraced. It was it's like she knew but the point was, I started to see where I don't listen, and I still make mistakes, for sure, but I at least stop when I can hear myself when I'm about to make an assumption about race, because I know I don't. That's not my I don't have a lived experience of being Black. I so appreciate this workshop to listen to everyone and their experiences, and it's healing for me, because I realized, and especially in this last month with the spiritual journey, that simply being alive and witnessing the violence and horror and evil, just witnessing that is painful. And I grew up in Detroit. I climbed the tree in my front yard during the Detroit riots, and I watched the smoke rise. And I didn't even know what to make of it, but it's affected me. So, I didn't realize how that affected me until having these conversations to reveal them, and also to realize that it's not my fault. I was born into it. I learned it really well. I have a choice now, but to really, that's the way we're healing anyway. It's you can't put it in the closet. So this is so much. It's I was gonna say, it's so much bigger than racism. It's as big. I don't know, and that all of it's huge, because it's a personal journey as well. I mean, this is part of us, of the human family, and I'm so appreciative for that. And then I just wanted to say, on a like a day-to-day level, like you brought up before, like what you find yourself called to do. Now I'm on the board of my co-op, and I found myself creating signage for the building, COVID signage. And I hated the signage that said, "Wear a mask or we'll shoot you." There's terrible signs around New York, really threatening, and you have no enforcement power. But I found that when I just dealing with my co-op, some of the conversations I don't think I would have heard before, like of fear, as what Kay said, it's a reaction, and the reaction that people have, I could hold it and listen, and it's nothing. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not very effective, but there's nothing wrong with it. So I appreciate that you're giving me a place to eke out my journey in this discourse, and not to mention all of the background, and not just background, but that you've ontologically reconstructed racism for us, like where it came from, how it came to be, how it lives. It's not something away. It lives in us. So,
Yeah. Thank you so much, Kit.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a really important journey, and it's a very personal journey.
Mm.
The reality around this stuff is that without the historical information, without the context, we kind of don't know where we stand. And so we end up stepping on people's toes because we're not sure-footed, right? We're like wobbly around it. And, I tell people, if you break down an edifice because it's no good, it's a terrible building, it's lopsided, it's got all these things wrong with it, and you tear the building down, and then you try to build a whole new building without ever cleaning up the rubble from the old building, you're going to build something that's lopsided, that can't stand, doesn't have any strength, doesn't have any real connection to the ground. It's not grounded, right? And so it's important as we go through this journey for us to clean, I call it cleaning the inside of the cup, right? So looking at our personal conditioning, how that came to be, understanding that in the context of the toxicity that we're living in, that we call racism, and just really looking at what needs to be transformed here, right? And where are the places where I have power? And the first place we have power is in us. Because a lot of what happens with this topic is everybody's trying to change everybody else. And because it's their fault, right? Like, we have a problem because of you, right? And what we now know, right, from years and years and years of doing this finger pointing and it's their fault kind of thing, is that that's very limiting. But you have power within you to transform your behavior. And so that's where it starts. That doesn't mean you don't do the external work as well, like looking at the institutions, but you're more likely to be powerful and transformative if you understand what you're talking about. If you understand that there are laws that were put in the books a long time ago that still affect you today. If you understand what those laws are, if you understand where they live, if like just really having the contextual background to transform it. Like, how are you going to transform something if you don't even know what it is? You don't know what it is. You don't know how it started. You don't know how it's maintained. You don't have enough information to really transform it. So people need that background work. And I always remind people, when you go to the doctor, one of the things they ask you to do is to lay out your history, because it just makes it easier to figure out what might be going wrong, right? Because if it happened with your parents and your grandparents, it's very likely that what's happening to you is related to what happened to them. And so it is with racism. And so it is with all these isms. And so it is with the things that are going on Earth right now. It's like, what happened to your parents and your grandparents is very likely to be the stuff that's happening to you. And so, so just having the background piece for me, as I began my own journey to wholeness, one of the most valuable things was understanding that history, because it helped me to put things in perspective. It also helped me to be discerning, because it allowed me to realize, oh, I only own half of that problem. I don't own the whole thing. I can heal my half. I can't heal somebody else's half, but I can heal my half. And I can make choices around my half of the problem. And if everybody does that, it makes it a lot easier to clean it up, because then everybody's taking personal responsibility for their share of the dysfunction. And we're not laying all the dysfunction at the feet of one group or one people or one blah, blah, blah. It's like, here's the historical context that helps you to understand how and why people are acting, reacting, and interacting with each other the way that they're doing it. And that, that this is a much more global problem. And when you understand it from that perspective, then you understand what has happened in the nation, why it's happened the way that it's happened. And what that does is it helps you breathe. Doesn't it help you breathe? It's like, oh, it really isn't me. It's the rest of the world. You know that old saying, It's not me, it's the rest of the world. It really, seriously, when it comes to this, it's not me, it's the rest of the world. So we're able to just really own what's ours and allow others to own what's theirs as well, because that's also, part of what happens is we take responsibility, not just for our share of the dysfunction, but for other people's share. When all we can do is plant seeds over there, we can't make them grow. We just can't. We don't have the power to do that. So yeah. Where are we with time, Kip?
It's about 7:45, so probably a good time to wrap up.
There we go. There we go. So I just want to thank the three of you so much for coming with us this evening and talking a little bit about your journey and what it's been like. And hopefully you'll continue to walk with us and learn more. Every week I create a new program. This fall, we're going to be doing programs with men. So Kay, I hope you'll be able to bring some of the men that you know.
I'm trying. Keep doing little knocks here and there and sending information out.
That's right. Yeah, we have a men's program. Is it one or two? I don't even remember right now, but I know we have at least one men's program, right, Kip? For this fall, for November.
Yeah, I think we're planning on doing one about and for white men and one about and for Black men.
Black men, yeah. And so hopefully we'll get men and women and everyone involved in that conversation, because that is an important conversation. A lot of times the men don't show up to these programs because they feel like they're going to be accused, especially white men, they're going to be beaten up on or accused of something. And that happens because people don't know the history. When you understand the history, it's a completely different story. It's not about blaming and shaming. It's about, now that we understand this, how can we work together to make a difference? Who right now has power to make a difference? Who right now has the experience and the information to make a difference? And why don't we all work together towards something better so that we can leave our children and our grandchildren a much better world than how we found it? So it's important that the men come along on this journey and have this conversation with us so that we can figure out, how do we change things and how do we make it better for everyone? So yeah, so I'm really excited about these programs. We also have a program for philanthropists coming up, because so often the way that money is allocated in our nation when it comes to charities and when it comes to nonprofits and things like that is also color-coded. And when people, again, understand the history and understand the dynamics around some of that stuff, it's likely that the world of giving can change. And that could be huge for those who can benefit from that on both sides, both the givers and the receivers. So we have a lot of really good programs coming up, and I'm excited about that. But I want to thank you, the three of you, so much for coming to be with us this evening and for sharing your experiences. And I'm excited. Yeah, and I'll see you on the other side.